we let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Oprah. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They don't have laws against it. They just make it impossible. They come over here, they sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies. And, hey, I have tremendous respect for the Japanese people. I mean, you can respect somebody that's beating the hell out of you, but they are beating the hell out of this country. Kuwait, they live like kings. The poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings. And yet they're not paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke.
Posted this on Twitter saying the operation is over. The patient lived and is healing. The prognosis is that the patient will be far stronger, bigger, better, and more resilient than ever before. Make America great again. Now, I thought this was an interesting post here on Twitter from Digital Soldier saying, what if I told you this wasn't about a hospital? What if I told you Trump just gave you the post-op announcement that the silent war is now over? What if I told you that the silent war was waged with military precision, digital warfare, and strategic deception? What this really means is Trump is saying that the psyop is now complete. The patient, which is the republic, lived, and the prognosis, which is America being reborn again. And while a lot of people are freaking out thinking tariffs are the worst thing in the world, yes, in the short term it creates massive volatility and uncertainty, but Trump has a secret plan that is flying over most people's heads because they only look at price action on the chart. Because did you know that Trump declared a national emergency on Liberation Day? And the reason why this is a massive deal is because by declaring a national emergency, Trump unlocks special powers, including the ability to redirect funds, impose sanctions, and regulate commerce more aggressively. This bypasses congressional gridlock, allowing swift action, but also raises concerns about checks and balances. Now, when Grok was asked if this is true, Grok says, yes, this post is true. Trump declared a national emergency on April 2nd related to trade per the U.S. Trade Representative. And as for active emergencies, it's estimated around 51 of them. Now, here's why this is such a big deal in Trump's secret plan.
Trump is crashing the stock market by 20% this month, but he's doing it on purpose. And this is why Warren Buffett just said Trump is making the best economic moves he's seen in over 50 years. Now, here's the secret game he's playing, and it could make you rich. So why is he doing this? To push cash into treasuries, which forces the Fed to slash interest rates in May, and those lower rates give the Fed the ability to refinance trillions of debt very inexpensively. It also weakens the dollar and drops mortgage rates. Now, it's a wild chess move, but it's working. Now, you're probably wondering, what about his tariffs? Well, I'll tell you, it's a genius play. It actually forces companies to build here to dodge them. It also forces farmers to sell more of their products here in the U.S. to bring grocery prices way down. We've already seen this with eggs. Now, remember, 94% of all stocks are owned only by 8% of Americans. So Trump, he's taking from the rich short term and handing it to the middle class through lower prices.
And the difference between the wealthy and poor is poor people see crashes as a scary thing, whereas the wealthy get excited because they're able to buy at lower prices. Eric Trump posted this saying, I wouldn't want to be the last country that tries to negotiate a trade deal with Trump. The first to negotiate will win. The last will absolutely lose. I've seen this movie my entire life. And the reason why his plan actually makes sense is common sense. Think about it. The U.S. national debt is $36 trillion. And in 2025, they will spend about $7 trillion here in U.S. federal spending, whereas they will only collect about $5 trillion in federal tax revenue, spending $2 trillion more than they're collecting. So they need to borrow $2 trillion, and this will increase the debt to $38.6 trillion. So his economic plan has three major points here. Number one is cut expenses through Doge, which they have about $280 billion clocked on here, just by simply targeting waste and fraud, because you guys can see the largest budget items, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, defense and war, interest on debt. There's been a massive mismanagement of money and just too much money spent on people that are over 200 years old just collecting Social Security, which is pretty much impossible unless there's some Guinness World Records that need to be documented here. So by decreasing fraud through Doge, they're able to bridge that gap between the spending and how much money they're collecting. Number two would be tariffs. America will no longer be taken advantage of by every other country on the planet. Because if you look at this right here, for people to say this is crazy, it's not crazy at all, actually. Look at the tariffs charged to the USA from these other countries. Trump is pretty much doing half of what these other countries are charging. Like China charges 67%, whereas the USA discounted the reciprocal tariff to 34%. And every single one of these is pretty much a discounted reciprocal tariff. A few of them are just matching the tariff, which is only fair. And so yes, some of these countries might try and retaliate, but that would be a stupid chess move for these countries to do. The smartest countries would do exactly what Eric Trump said. They would try to be the first to negotiate a deal, lowering their tariffs on the United States to get the reciprocal tariffs lowered, to have more business and trade flowing in and out of their countries with the United States. And so this is exactly what Trump wants. Because if tariffs increasing, then it economically makes more sense for companies to build factories and farms and businesses again inside of the United States instead of going overseas because of how crazy the import and export percentages are. And number 3, the ultimate goal is to get Jerome Powell to cut interest rates. And so he posted this saying it would be the perfect time for the Fed chair to cut rates because he's always late, but he could now change his image and quickly. Energy prices are down, interest rates are down, inflation is down, even eggs are down 69% and jobs are up, all within 2 months. And in all caps, he's saying cut interest rates, Jerome, and stop playing politics. On top of that, one thing that's pretty crazy here, super random, but Klaus Schwab is set to step down from the World Economic Forum after 55 years. So it goes back to this post right here saying that the silent war that was waged with military precision, digital warfare, and strategic deception is now over. And we're just seeing it play out in real time because all the world's a stage. So I understand why people are bearish in the short term on the crypto market because of just the volatility that this creates, not only for XRP, but every single altcoin, including the stock market. But when you truly understand the long-term plan here, it gives you every reason to be bullish. For example, U.S. Treasury Secretary is now saying this.
Unclear whether we were going to exempt gold from tariffs, which I believe we have. So there was a big move out of vaults in Switzerland, out of vaults in London to get it into New York. And look, that there are a lot of different stores of value over time. Bitcoin's becoming a store of value. Gold has historically been a store of value. I think what's interesting is where do we see the gold demand coming from? A huge amount is from China.
Yes.
Where they, as I said, they're in the middle of an economic recession/depression. People don't trust the Chinese currency because they have capital controls. There are 1.4 billion Chinese who all want to get their money out, and they won't let them. They will let them buy gold.
So Bitcoin has transitioned from being referred to as a speculative gamble to now being called a store of value. So while the U.S. Economic Policy Uncertainty Index pretty much hits an all-time high, well, Warren Buffett said it best, buy when others are fearful and sell when others are greedy. So if everyone's fearful right now, what does that mean we should do? Well, $3.25 trillion was wiped out from the U.S. stock market today. Meanwhile, $5.4 billion flowed into crypto. And so this is the picture right now on the charts with the S&P 500 index crashing, CFDs on gold, the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Bitcoin, however, is sitting right at nearly $84,000, whereas the